Today we're exposing the door-in-the-face technique, one of the darkest forms of psychological manipulation. By the end, you'll recognize when you're being played and how to fight back. Warning, once you see this, you'll spot it everywhere. R1, the corporate takeover. First we take 80%, then we settle for 51%. A ruthless corporate raider wants to acquire a struggling family-owned business. The owners are emotionally attached and refuse to sell. Instead of offering a fair buyout, the raider demands an 80% stake, a blatant power grab that shocks the owners into refusal. After weeks of tension, the raider compromises by asking for only 51% control, framing it as a partnership. Relieved to avoid total loss, the owners agree, not realizing they've just handed over absolute control. Dark psychology inside. The extreme initial demand anchors the negotiation. The concession triggers obligation. He backed down, so I should too. The victim feels they won by keeping 49%, unaware they've been outmaneuvered. The best way to control someone is to make them think they have a choice. By Sun Tzu, The Art of War. 2. The cult leader's gradual enslavement. A charismatic cult leader seeks total devotion from followers. Asking for complete loyalty up front would scare people away. First, the leader demands absolute obedience. Give up all possessions, cut ties with family. Most recruits balk. Then he softens his request. Just donate 30% of your income and attend weekly meetings. Relieved, recruits comply, not realizing this is the first step toward total control. Over time, demands escalate until they're fully trapped. Dark psychology insight. The extreme initial request reshapes perception, making lesser demands seem harmless. Once compliance begins, escalation is inevitable. See foot-in-the-door technique. If you give me 6 lines written by the most honest man, I will find something in them to hang him. By Cardinal Richelieu. 3. The abuser's compromise on freedom. An abusive partner wants to isolate their victim from friends and family. A direct command, never see them again, would trigger resistance. First, the abuser demands no contact for a month. When the victim protests, they relent and say, "Fine, just don't see them without me present." The victim, relieved to have negotiated, accepts, not realizing they've just surrendered autonomy. Dark psychology insight. The abuser manufactures conflict to later resolve it on their terms. The victim feels grateful for the compromise, deepening dependency. Power is not a means, it is an end. One does not establish a dictatorship to safeguard a revolution. One makes the revolution to establish the dictatorship. By George Orwell. 4. The politician's false concession. A corrupt politician wants to pass a controversial law, but knows it will face backlash. First, they propose an extreme version, for example, total ban on all protests. Public outrage erupts, then they listen to the people and scale it back to something still oppressive, but less blatant. For example, just require protest permits 30 days in advance. The public, relieved it's not worse, accepts the compromise, unaware they've still been manipulated into surrendering rights. Dark psychology insight. The extreme proposal shifts the Overton window, making the real goal seem moderate. People feel they influence change, when in reality they were played. The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum. By Noam Chomsky. 5. The salesman's discounted scam. A shady car salesman wants to sell an overpriced vehicle. First, he quotes an absurd price. "This luxury car is $100,000. The customer walks away. Then he chases them down. "Wait, my manager approved a special deal just for you, $70,000. The customer, thinking they got a $30,000 discount, agrees, not realizing the car was never worth more than $60,000. Dark psychology insight. The fake discount exploits contrast bias, making the real price seem like a steal. The buyer feels smart for negotiating when they were manipulated. There's a sucker born every minute, by P.T. Barnum. 6. The hostage negotiators bargain for survival. A terrorist group kidnaps a high-profile executive demanding $50 million ransom. The company refuses, knowing paying would set a dangerous precedent. After weeks of deadlock, the kidnappers suddenly lower their demand to $10 million, framing it as a goodwill gesture. Relieved, the company pays, believing they negotiated well. But the kidnappers never expected $50 million. They wanted $10 million all along. Dark psychology insight. The inflated initial demand sets an anchor, making the real goal seem like a concession. The victim feels in control when in reality they were manipulated into compliance. Appear weak when you are strong and strong when you are weak, by Sun Tzu. 7. The romance scammer's fake sacrifice. A con artist targets a wealthy individual online posing as a potential lover, their goal to extract money. First, they ask for $100,000 to save their dying business. When the victim hesitates, they sacrificially lower it to $20,000, saying, "I don't want to burden you, just help me survive." Touched by their humility, the victim sends the money, not realizing it was the scammer's true target all along. A dark psychology insight. The scammer plays on empathy, making the victim feel like a hero for helping. The fake concession builds trust, making future requests easier. The easiest way to gain someone's trust is to pretend to give them yours. By Robert Greene. 8. The lawyer's plea bargain trap. A prosecutor wants a defendant to plead guilty but knows they might fight the charges in court. First, they threaten 20 years in prison if the case goes to trial. The defendant panics, then the prosecutor offers mercy, plead guilty and you'll get only 5 years. The defendant, fearing worse, accepts, not realizing the evidence was weak and they might have won in court. Dark psychology insight. The extreme threat induces fear, clouding rational judgment. The leniency is an illusion. The trap was set from the start. Lawyers, like painters, can easily change white into black. Danish proverb. 9. The dictator's reform charade. An authoritarian regime faces international pressure over human rights abuses. They need to appear cooperative without real change. First, they ignore all demands, acting defiant. Global sanctions tighten, then they compromise. Fine, we'll allow one independent monitor. The world celebrates this progress, while the regime continues oppression in secret. Dark psychology insight. The initial resistance makes minor concessions seem like victories. The real power structure remains untouched. A lie told often enough becomes the truth. By Vladimir Lenin. 10. The drug dealer's first hit-free scheme. A dealer wants to addict a new customer, but knows direct pressure might backfire. First, they offer an expensive bulk purchase, for example, buy 10 pills for $200. The target refuses. Then they help out. Tell you what, take one for free, just try it. Once hooked, the victim comes back for more, at full price. Dark psychology insight. The free sample exploits reciprocity, creating obligation. The real sale was always the addiction. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. By Henry David Thoreau. 11. The fake charity's emotional shakedown. A fraudulent charity wants to maximize donations by exploiting empathy. First, they ask for $1,000, saying it will save 100 children. When the donor hesitates, they adjust the request. Even $100 can feed a child for a month. Feeling guilty but relieved, the donor gives $100, unaware that most of it will go to administrative costs, the scammer's pocket. Dark psychology insight. The emotional hook, save children, makes resistance feel immoral. The lower amount seems reasonable by comparison, ensuring compliance. The greatest crimes in the world are not committed by people breaking the rules, but by people following them. By Banksy. 12. The mob's protection racket. A crime syndicate wants to extort money from a small business owner. First, they demand $5,000 per month for protection. When the owner refuses, they send enforcers to vandalize the store. Then they negotiate. Fine, just $2,000 and we'll make sure nothing else happens. The owner, fearing worse, pays, not realizing the threats were the mob's creation all along. Dark psychology insight. The initial aggression creates fear, making the discounted offer seem like salvation. The victim pays to avoid chaos they didn't know was orchestrated. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. By Niccolo Machiavelli. 13. The MLM recruiter's opportunity of a lifetime. A multi-level marketing MLM scheme needs new recruits to sustain its pyramid. First, they claim you must invest $10,000 to become a top-tier distributor. When you balk, they compromise. Okay, just $500 to start, you can earn it back in a week. You sign up not realizing the real profit comes from recruiting others, not sales. Dark psychology insight. The outrageous upfront cost makes the smaller fee seem like a steal. The sunk cost fallacy keeps you trapped as you chase returns. A fool and his money are soon parted, by Thomas Tusser. 14. The government's temporary surveillance expansion. A regime wants to increase mass surveillance, but no citizens value privacy. First, they propose 24/7 biometric tracking for national security. Public outrage erupts, then they scale back to only monitoring suspected criminals. The public, relieved, accepts, not realizing the definition of suspected will keep expanding. Dark psychology insight. The extreme proposal shifts the Overton window, making incremental tyranny seem moderate. Once the system is in place, mission creep is inevitable. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. By Benjamin Franklin. 15. The predatory lender's flexible debt trap. A loan shark targets desperate borrowers with unfair terms. First, they offer a 50% interest rate. When the borrower protests, they generously lower it to 25%. Grateful, the borrower accepts, not realizing even this rate ensures they'll never escape debt. Dark psychology insight. The initial exploitative offer makes the real exploitation seem fair. The borrower feels they negotiated well when they were doomed from the start. The rich rule over the poor and the borrower is slave to the lender. Proverbs 22:7. Final lesson, the illusion of choice. The door-in-the-face technique is about manufacturing false dilemmas, making you think you chose freely when every option served the manipulator. How to defend yourself. 1. Reject the first offer immediately. Don't let it anchor your judgment. 2. Ask, what was your goal before this conversation? 3. Walk away. Real power is refusing to play. Freedom is the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. By George Orwell. So, where have you seen this tactic in real life? In sales, politics, toxic relationships? The scary truth is, once you know how door-in-the-face works, you'll start noticing it everywhere, because the best manipulators make you think you won the negotiation. But now you're armed. The next time someone slams you with an outrageous demand only to generously back down, smile. You know their game. Drop a comment below with the most shocking example you've seen, or if you've ever fallen for this trick without realizing. And if you found this breakdown eye-opening, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We dive deep into dark psychology, manipulation tactics, and how to defend yourself every week. Stay sharp because the world is full of wolves, but now you're no longer sheep.